Hey everybody, welcome, and thank you for listening to this episode of Marriage Therapy Radio. My name is Zach Brittle. I'm here today with Bob and Arlina Allen. Arlina has a podcast called the One Day at a Time Recovery Podcast. I got to go on that in January, talk to her about my recovery process and a little bit of what parenting was like for me and how I've done that. If you've been around the Marriage Therapy Radio for very long, you know that's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I was grateful that Arlina had me on, and I think you should go check it out. I think I'm in episode 415 of her podcast called, again, the One Day at a Time Recovery Podcast. This episode that you're listening to is episode 420 of Marriage Therapy Radio, and there's probably a very funny joke about weed or marijuana or something and recovery and sober, and we spend some time talking about what that's like. And what their relationship like, how they make it work. I'm excited to share that with you. We also go on a little bit of a side quest around Game of Thrones, which is near and dear to my heart. I was one of those weekly watchers who set my clock to make sure that I did not miss an episode and followed along with all the Jon Snows and the Arya Starks and the Daenerys Targaryens and the the Briennes of Tarth, all of that. I have this quirky little thing that I think sometime, which is that that show in particular is big enough, broad enough that all of us are somebody on Game of Thrones. Like if we took a quiz, they would say, "Oh, you must be Arya Stark," and that would say something about our personality. And I don't know what you are. I kind of feel like I'm a little bit like the Tyrion character. His whole brand is that he drinks and he knows things. So I don't drink anymore, but I like to know stuff and learn stuff and use that stuff to help people get smarter about their relationships in particular. I do think strategically, and that's always fun for me. But, I'm also just I love watching shows. I love watching Game of Thrones. Big fan of House of the Dragon, which is on right now. I just watched A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which is a very cool story. I do wish that George R.R. Martin would go ahead and finish writing The Winds of Winter. But if none of that is important to you, that's okay. You all have epics that matter to you, epic stories that you get caught up in. I think that this is just one example of them. A couple others that have really been fun for Rebecca and I both this last year or so. One is, actually, I'll tell you two more that are both based in novels that I think you should check out. One is called A Gentleman in Moscow, which is a novel by Amor Towles that I read. It's about a gentleman in Moscow who gets trapped in this hotel over about 40 years around the turn of the century in like the early 1900s. Just kind of watch him. He's not trapped, he's imprisoned, and he has to navigate the different political and social and relational realities of being in this place with all these different characters who come through and grow up and grow old while he is not allowed to leave, or else he'll be executed. For me, it was just a really cool opportunity to get caught up in a big sweeping story that wasn't dependent on, week over week cliffhangers. Ewan McGregor is the star, and his real life wife, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, is in that show as well. So that's a cool one. The other one, though, that we really loved was watching 100 Years of Solitude. 100 Years of Solitude is a novel by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and it was largely understood to be unfilmable, but it is not. They've done a beautiful job. It's filmed almost entirely in Colombia. Gabriel Garcia Marquez's sons were producers on the show, so they made sure that it stayed true to the vision. If you've read that book, it's amazing. It's sort of the seminal text in magic realism, which is a genre that's close to my heart. The idea that magic exists in the midst of the mundane. I just finished writing my book. I turned it in to the editor right before I left for my trip. And, the magic in the midst of the mundane is a very important part of what I'm arguing is necessary for couples to turn the corner or to level up or whatever it is that you want to say. We have to look for the things that are right underneath our nose that somehow are remarkable and that somehow make us feel more connected to the world and to one another. The world we live in right now is scary and dangerous and unpredictable. It feels like every single day some new chaotic thing happens in the news cycle that makes us stress out or feel anxious or whatever it is. And I think, again, getting caught up in a big story, whether it's Game of Thrones or Gentleman in Moscow or 100 Years of Solitude, or just your own marriage, in your own neighborhood, in your own day-to-day life, in your own relationships. Sometimes it's good just to slow down, pay attention to the fine details that are happening just right underneath your nose. And that's my pitch for now. And again, I got to talk to Bob and Arlene. They are a hoot. And we do, again, go on a little side quest about our shared love of this one particular genre of television show. And then we explore a bunch of other ideas. I think you will dig hearing from them. This is a very cool conversation. Stick around. I read your little survey thing that I have people fill out, and I'm dying to ask you. I want to talk about Game of Thrones. Can we talk about Game of Thrones?
She's crazy. We do more than that. There's more than watching Game of Thrones.
Well,
I'm sure.
The thing was like, what's your thing? And it was like, well, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It is true.
Okay. All right. So I got a question for you. Which Game of Thrones character are you?
Well, that's a good one.
Ooh, that is a good one.
Tyrion Lannister.
Tyrion.
I love that guy.
Tyrion. He knows things and drinks. I drink and I know things.
I know things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe that's your answer. He's a great character. I love him. But do you think
I love. Yeah. No, that's not. I'd have to think.
That is a good one, though.
I love him. He's my favorite.
What about Jon Snow or Ned Stark or?
Nah, he's too rigid.
Which one?
Ned.
Ned's too.
Yeah, Jon, kind of.
Yeah. Where are you in the series?
Well,
I'll let her explain this to you.
It's our bedtime story, so we've been watching it on repeat.
I think it's a comfort thing.
Yeah,
100%, 100%.
For like years.
Yeah, so
we don't even know. We tried to
just start over.
We just start over as soon as it ends. We just start over, and that's the show that we fall asleep to at night.
We're kind of crazy.
We're a little weird.
Well, why? That's all right. I'm into it. Like I'm actually really into it. So why Game of Thrones? Like what is it about that show? And do you do the spinoffs? Do you do House of Dragon?
Oh yeah,
Night of the Seven
We're
Kingdoms
sick
and all
with
that
all
stuff?
of it. Yeah,
he's listening to the audiobooks.
Yeah. So books are better than movies generally. Whatnot. So I'm into the audiobooks right now.
Yeah,
and it's just another layer of like, oh my gosh, they left out a lot, but they incorporated. It's just I'm seeing the differences.
Well, except for book 1 and season 1. Book 1, season 1 is almost word for word faithful recreation of the book. Yeah. They're like, I mean, I remember reading it and I was like, I could skip chapters because I could just go straight ahead and know, and then, or I would come back and go, that's exactly what it was. Anyway,
So you're a fan. Okay. We're not that.
Well, I'm not a repeat watching fan. Like I watched it faithfully and I did the whole thing and I was there every week, Sunday night, 10 o'clock or whatever it was. And I wouldn't miss it, but I haven't rewatched it. My daughter is currently watching it now for the first time. So she's right now in season, I want to say she's in 5 right now. Yeah. But
she's seen Hold the Door.
Right. I think that is the most impressive payoff on a television show. Like you're kind of like,
for sure.
It's like, what is going on? And it's like not even a thing. And then all of a sudden it's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was crazy.
My favorite episode is the second half of Hard Home, where John first sees the White Walkers and the guy raises his hands and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why, but
that's a great
that's probably my favorite.
Yeah.
It's just
listen, I think there's a lot to learn from stuff like this. When people get caught up in stories, like what part of the story do they get caught up in? Like what is the thing that appeals to them? Yeah. And I do think like one of the reasons I asked you about which character you are is because I have this belief that anything you do is only worth doing if it's a conversation piece. Like my go-to personality typing tool is the Enneagram. I don't know if you know the Enneagram at all, but like, so I talk about the Enneagram and somebody's an 8 or a 2 or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. You can be an 8 and a 2. Cool. But you could actually talk about which Game of Thrones character you are. And I say that sentence all the time.
Really? That's hilarious.
And it will tell you about how you view the world, how you think about things, how you show up in different places. And so if you're Tyrion or you're Arya or you're, Cersei or whatever, that says something about you. And that's why I thought you guys would be the perfect people to ask this question to, because this is how we make meaning. We make meaning by stories, and you guys have gotten caught up in this story for a while, and so I'm intrigued.
Yeah. years.
Years.
I don't know. I do keep coming back to Tyrion. I love that guy.
Yeah.
I guess I would have to resonate a little bit with him.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, he is the voice of reason and of honesty. You know, he's not dubious. He's just really straightforward. You know,
for sure.
He's funny.
Notably, and this is just part of your thing. Tyrion is the character who drinks and knows things, but that's not you guys. You don't drink. That's not your.
No.
Yeah. So, but there's something about the appeal of that vice, perhaps, that speaks to you. Like, what do you know about that?
The drink and know thing. I think knowing things. Wow. Without coming across like a know-it-all.
That's all right.
I've been through some things and seen a lot of life. I mean, I'm still relatively young. I just turned 56, so
yeah.
But yeah,
we're old. We qualify for senior discounts now.
Yeah, that was wild.
No. When do you get that?
Apparently, it happens at 55. I'm 2 years late to the game. I'm 57.
Yeah, I was just at the grocery store. And I don't know if it's the gray hair, but the cashier's like, "Are you 55?" Or she goes, "Are you a senior citizen?"
Oh my God,
56. And she marks the thing down. I go, "Yeah, cool." And then it was like the happiest, saddest day of my life. I'm like,
she told you were a secret citizen.
Money, but I'm a senior citizen.
Oh man.
Anyway, yeah.
But you know what? You being Tyrion makes sense because you like people and everybody likes you, and he has a real way with people. So I not the drinking part, but he's funny and he yeah.
I tend to get along with people real well.
Yeah.
It just comes easy kind of to me. I'm actually that's part of what I do is for a career. I kind of am the quarterback, and I operate with engineers and, executives to the, the front desk. And I'm kind of the guy that orchestrates all the communications, you know? So
pulling. You're like you're not quite the quarterback. You're more like the guy in the chair. Yeah.
In the throne.
Yeah. Well,
no,
that's a trope in comic books and superhero movies is that there's the hero, he's out there, but then there's the guy in the chair, and he's the one who actually is directing all the traffic. He knows what's going on. He sees the stuff. Yeah. And so in the Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland, Ned celebrates. He's the guy in the chair. I'm the guy in the chair. I'm the guy in the chair because he's got all this stuff. But Arlina, do you know who you are in Game of Thrones?
I think I'd probably either be Sansa or Arya. I really like the idea of Arya because obviously she kills
She's a badass.
Bad guy.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. If you haven't watched Game, I mean, it's an 8-year-old show, so who cares? Yeah, too bad.
Yeah. But I like that she kind of goes on she blazes her own trail. She's like a rule breaker. She doesn't like to follow the rules and she's true to herself. And I like that about her.
That's definitely you. Rule breaker.
How is that like you?
I am a rule breaker, huh? He's always called me a rule breaker. Yeah. I like to learn the rules so that I know where I can break them. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah. I'm like an entrepreneur by trade. I'm always starting things and doing things, and I definitely try to blaze my own trail. So
100%. Yeah. And I'm more I paint within the borders, I'm very controlled, very I'm pretty kind of opposite that way.
A little bit,
Yeah. That's very cool. Do you know, are you team green or team black? This is from House of the Dragon.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
I'm
black.
Black.
Yeah.
100%. I'm not green. No.
I love it. High towers? No, thank you.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for going on that side quest with me. Tell me about Arlina and Bob. Like, what's the story? Who are you guys? Why are you interesting? Besides being fantastic bedtime story people.
Yeah.
Well, so we actually met in a recovery community. Mm-hmm. I was 25 and he was 24. So it's been a minute. Mm-hmm. And we still like each other a lot. He's actually my favorite person after all this time. Listen, we've been through some ups and downs for sure.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
but we sort of had like this, because of our recovery foundation, we really have had a process for resolving resentment. My feeling is that resentment is sort of like a wedge that drives people apart. And we've had this practical, in the 12 steps, the 4th step is about a personal inventory. So it's really been a way to mitigate a lot of the stress and resentment that it naturally arises in a relationship. And it's really all about taking personal responsibility and owning your part and just staying focused on your side. And
I think also along with that is we had a community, right? So, anytime in life, looking back then is, if I had issues, I had this group of men that really taught me how to be a man, in terms of owning my feelings and what's truth, what's not truth, what's my part, what's, her part, whatnot. But, having those men as like soundboard, I would, I learned that, I need to hold my tongue a little bit and bring my whatever it was to the people that I found, the men that I've felt comfortable with and close with, and say, this is what's going on. And, and they would pull out the pieces and be like, okay, that's not your business, that, this is your part, right? So learning my part in things, and what I did, what I said, whatever it was, right? And then I was able to go back to Arlina and own my part and be like, like for if we're having an issue, it would be like, okay, this is how I feel. This is what I did. If I need to make amends there, I would clean it up right there. How do I become a better man, or how do I, what can I do better, or how can I make that right? Something like along those lines, right? I mean, we had our people, and then we'd come when we were kind of, okay with it, or we figured it out, then we would come back and have discussions. I mean, that started, like she said, we're in our early 20s, right? And to this day, I mentioned 56, I still do the same things. If I get wound up tight, I kind of retreat, look at myself, look what's going on, get another opinion or whatnot, and then we come back and talk.
Yeah, but truth be told, after all this time, we've worked a lot of stuff out, so it's pretty smooth. Like it's been a long time since.
It's rare that we fight. I mean, she's my best friend. The most important person in my life. That it kills me when I do something that hurts her or whatnot. If I say something, I'm pretty much immediately, I'm like, oh my God, that was horrible.
Yeah, I can't even remember the last time.
Yeah,
it was probably your fault. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, but being able to communicate has been sort of the thing that I really give credit to our longevity and the fact that we're happy and we're super close.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you can't think of one, but do you have a story? Like, do you have a go-to story that you tell about your resentment process? Like, you can kind of go, this, for example, is how, I'd love to hear it. I mean, this in real time. Like, how do you actually put this theory into practice in real life?
I have an example. I do have a go-to story because I feel like this sort of embodies it perfectly. So when we were first, I think we were already engaged and we were planning a wedding, and we were broke back in the day, right? We didn't have a lot of money, so we were saving money. And we both had money issues, but like in the opposite, like I was super controlling and stingy, and he was more carefree, shall we say, with money. And anyway, so we had gone out to dinner with another couple.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Ed and Leslie. And Ed was a baller. He was doing really well. He had a lot of money. And, he and Bob kind of team up. And Bob's very like amiable. Like he'll kind of go with the flow type of guy. And he and Ed, we had this waitress who was really great. And they thought it would be a great idea to give her a big tip. And I was not okay with that. Like I worked in the service industry for a long time, so I'm a good tipper. But these guys were talking, they were just feeling really generous, and I was so uncomfortable. And I didn't know how to express my discomfort in a peaceful, loving way. At the end of the day, I made everybody uncomfortable. Because I wasn't okay with it. And I don't remember what happened, but Leslie and I went to the bathroom. She's like, I think I need to go to the bathroom. Do you want to come? And I was like, okay. So to break the tension, I think, poor thing, she couldn't stand it. And anyway, I was really upset and I didn't know how to express myself. And he thought I was, I'm sure he didn't appreciate how I was behaving.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a big mess. And I was upset and we tried to talk it out, but we were like, for whatever reason, it was a really hot topic. Like money is one of those things that I would just get hot about.
Yeah, you come a long way with that, by the way.
Yes, thank you. But so anyway, we couldn't talk about it at first. And so we did what we usually do, what we had been doing, because I was probably 3 years sober by this point.
Yeah.
So we did what we typically do, which is I reach out to my sponsor and he reaches out to his sponsor, right? And I reach out to Julie and I was like, Bobby did this and Bobby did that, and blah, blah, blah. She listens and she goes, okay, well, I don't sponsor him, so we're going to talk about your part.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was like, bitch. I was so mad.
Yeah.
She's like, did you just want to vent? Do you want feedback? How can I help you? And so she and I talked about what was really going on for me. I was afraid that I wasn't going to get what I wanted. I was afraid that, and I was resentful because I was like practicing deprivation and denying myself things. And so I was feeling like the lack of just not having enough money and really like depriving myself to save for this thing. And I felt like he didn't care. Mm-hmm. I felt like it wasn't important to him. I felt like he didn't think that my feelings were more important than some random stranger. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't able to articulate that at the moment, but I was like, okay, I'm resentful of him. He was giving this, there's 4 columns in this 4-step process. So it's who are you resentful at? The specific cause of why, how were you affected, and what was your part? And it was clear to me that it was his fault.
I was just trying to be nice.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Make somebody's day a little bit better, but
a stranger's day. As opposed to your fiance's day.
Yeah.
I thought he just didn't want to look bad in front of Ed, but whatever.
Yeah.
I was affected because it was all selfish and self-centered motives. And Julie helped me to see that. Uh-huh. And she's like, he is a grown-ass man. He gets to spend his money however he sees fit. Uh-huh. So she really helped me to see clearly. And she and I talked it through to where I was able to kind of find some empathy for him and how I made him feel. And it was kind of like that awkward moment where you realize you're the jerk. And I was like, oh, shoot. So, controlling behaviors and all that stuff. And so I was like,
say it again. The 4 parts you got.
So who are you resentful at?
Why specifically?
The specific cause.
Mm-hmm.
What was affected in me?
Yep. And then what was
my part? And what was affected in me? Like I had all these fears. It was just basically fears that he didn't love me. He didn't think my thing was important enough. I was depriving myself. I was So it was, but I couldn't see it until it was sort of all laid out. And then she helped me to see what my part was in it. And then when I was able to sort of realize that how uncomfortable I made everybody feel and how controlling I was being, that was my part. And so once I got clarity about that, then I could come back to him and be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But an amends isn't just, I'm sorry. It's, I can see how my behavior made you feel uncomfortable and I am sorry. And is there anything I can do to make it right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was there anything you could do to make it right?
Oh, I don't know. It was a long time.
Well, yeah, but that's one thing that I think as you're talking there, we've always didn't just say, I'm sorry, but we really tried to improve, how to become, how to not do that again. Right. I'm sure there was times I don't remember, but it's so far and few in between. I mean, Remember?
I feel like you went and did the whole process with your sponsor.
100%.
So when we did come back together, he was clear about what his part was.
Yeah.
And so we just had to come to an understanding about
learning how to be a couple. I mean, learning
how we're going to spend money, make
'Cause
decisions.
this is I mean, even we literally just had this conversation, now I'm buying, or we would buy big ticket items. And it's like, hey, there's some, it's kind of unstable in the work. I'm okay, but like, excuse me, there's some stuff going on. It's like, whoa, we better watch our spending a little bit, right? And we did some big ticket items, and we, just the other day, remember, it's like, hey, if it's X amount of dollars, we need to have a discussion first. And I'm like, absolutely, right? Not just I just can't go on Amazon or wherever and spend a couple $100, right? I need to check in and be like, this is what I'm thinking, right? And we've been, what is it now, 31 years together? It's 31, right?
Yeah, I think
about 3 decades with somebody. I question myself now. It's like, hey, this is my thoughts. This is what I'm thinking or feeling. What do you think, right? Like, it's
just about considering the other person's feelings.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, that's kind of one of the things that's baked in here is, we talk about couples, you've seen this before, couples will chicken and egg something. They'll be like, but you did this, but I only did that because you did this, but you did this first, and I'm high on saying, well, what if you chicken and egg in the opposite direction, where you're like, hey, this was my fault because I put you in an uncomfortable situation. No, I shouldn't have done that because I didn't even ask you first before I decided to tip this lady. Yeah, but actually you're a grown man. You can do whatever you want with your money. Yeah, but still I should, and you almost like see if you can out responsible the other, not in a competitive way, but in a way that leads exactly to what you're just doing, where you laugh and you go, oh, aren't we silly? Like, aren't we ridiculous that we let ourselves get so spun up about something like this? And when you crack that code, it's pretty fantastic, like, because you can actually go, oh, this isn't really about which one of us is the worst. Which one of the other one of us is the worst. It's about which one of us is the can take the most responsibility, which I think is a privilege sometimes in conflict. So
Yeah. I noticed, like, if there's just like a little flare up or whatever, we are very quick to be like,
super quick.
To be like, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that, or I probably shouldn't have done that. And it listen, we've had a lot of practice over the years.
Yeah.
So it's pretty smooth sailing at this point.
Yeah.
I would say now our challenges a lot of times are around, what do we want to do for fun? Like when we're talking about retirement and stuff.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, we're on the verge of being empty nesters. And so probably sometimes, I'm always like, I like my kids. I want my kids to stay. You don't have to go. And he's sort of the school of like, you need to
get your butts out the nest and start living life. With all love and respect with that. But you know what I mean.
Who are they? Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
My two boys.
They're 25 and 22. Yeah. One's going to Japan in like 50 days.
Yeah, I'm excited for him.
And the other one, he's going to be out of here pretty soon. He's moved out once before, then needed to come home for a minute. But he's going to leave again. And then so we're going to be alone. We're going to be like...
Yeah, it's going to be like going back when we were dating and, first married and no children. It's like, oh, what do we do now?
What do you want to do this weekend? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do?
Well, yeah, and that's really different than a lot of couples, because a lot of couples come up against empty nests and they're like, well, now what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Versus, well, now what are we going to do? And so there's something about that you guys have tapped into, which is intriguing to think about.
Yeah.
I keep asking him, what kind of experiences do you want to have?
Yeah.
But we're homebodies, so we're so fine.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I want to sit down and watch Game of Thrones for 7 straight hours.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I want to have.
Yeah. I want to act out the parts of Game of Thrones, Role play, get our costumes,
Go to the Ren Fair.
Yeah, exactly. That's an interesting question. It's like, what experiences do you want? I definitely, traveling for sure, and being with you, going different places, and
Yeah, and we have a little side hustle project. It's a little creative project. I make soap and he makes candles.
It's actually a lot of fun.
I'm thinking that's something that we can do in retirement.
Yeah. Something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we need a project for retirement.
I have a curiosity that this thing's called Marriage Therapy Radio, and I wonder if you've done a lot of work in recovery, and it seems like you've got sponsors and you've got communities. Have you done marriage therapy? Have you done couples therapy? And then what was that? And how did it work? How did it work for you?
We've been a couple of times. The first time we went into therapy was when we moved in together.
Okay.
Yeah, we went to this guy.
Oh yeah,
remember
was
Len?
It Len? Yeah.
We went to this guy Len, and I don't even remember.
I don't know what our issue was. I forgot.
Yeah, but
it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I think it was a lot around communication. There was a lot of issues around money. I had a lot of money issues. I was really controlling. And so we went to Len, and he was kind of like a referee. And he would help me see his part, and he would help Bob see my part.
And we kind of did that. It was like in real time. Instead of going to, our sponsors our separate ways, I could see how her wheels were turning or what she was thinking or feeling at that moment, and then having that third party there that was kind of, it was actually really cool.
Yeah, it was real. You're
I'm
right.
all for couples therapy. If I would go again in a heartbeat, if there was something we couldn't get past, absolutely.
Yeah, but it was that real time sort of working it out that was really important for us. And I would go by myself, and then he would go by himself, so that we felt like he had sort of both sides.
Yeah.
And then we'd come together and then talk. He gave us some ideas about how we could be more patient with each other. Or actually, it was interesting. One thing I do remember is the advice we got was that I needed to sort of relax and let go a little bit.
That's right.
And
I need to
give him space to move forward. Because if I was so controlling of, I didn't even give him room to kind of come in and take responsibility because I was all over it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really interesting.
The reason I ask is, I'm a guy in recovery. I also have a therapist that I love. And, sometimes people will come into my office and they'll say, this is the dynamic that most happens is a woman, a heterosexual couple will be in there and she will say, I really want him to go to therapy. And I don't think that's what she wants. What she wants is for him to, let's say, get sober or become more emotionally available or work on his anger or, stop being depressed, she wants an outcome. And, I will say the same thing I always say, which is maybe therapy, but maybe it's a 12-step program, or maybe it's a small group at your church, or maybe it's a YouTube guru, or maybe it's a whatever. But I wonder, having been people who are in therapy and having been people who are in, who understand how recovery programs work, what is the thing that they have in common? What is the thing that is consistent in that environment that feels like, oh, this is actually the healing thing. It's not the label. It's not the label, the recovery community or the therapist. It's the...
I would say the commonality was that I would think it was honesty and vulnerability, being willing to be honest. Because there were times when it was really hard to share things. I would say when you were struggling with depression, that was really hard.
Yeah.
There was a time when I was 7 months pregnant and we had a little one already, and he had gotten laid off.
Yeah.
And he was under so much stress. And one night he came into the room. It was 11 o'clock at night, during the week. I don't even know why I was still awake. And he came in and he's like, it's not that I want to kill myself. And I don't remember what he said after that because my brain kind of shorted out. But there were times when we were both under so much stress that we really needed, I was so afraid. I couldn't be the one to help him as the wife. He needed somebody else. And that's when we would often...
Seek out
professional help. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you get, when you get married, you get a mirror. You get a mirror in your house and you're like, here's the mirror. And they hold it up. And then maybe sometimes the value of getting outside help is you get a different lens, you get a different mirror, or you get a different, maybe a window or something to help you see what's up. I think in both cases, what you're describing is this pattern of learning how to look at yourself and take care of your side of the street or your part. And I remember being in my home as a teenager and my dad saying, you got to look out for number one. You got to take care of yourself. You got to make sure that you're doing your thing. And I remember, and I heard it exactly like that, like kind of selfish and like protective. And I rejected it. I thought, no, you have to you got to take care of other people and you got to be on their business. And now that I'm nearly a senior citizen, I'm reflecting on some of those conversations and I realize I think he's right. He's right. But the sound is wrong. The sound is, you got to look out for yourself. You got to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and get yourself ready so that you can go do the thing called relationship. And I don't think that's what he meant because I'm not fond of that guy. But I do think that self-care and self-readiness is a really critical part of being in a healthy relationship. And it seems like you've cracked the code on that a little bit.
Absolutely. And I think Arlina would agree with me that it's so important to have your own house clean, so to speak. Like I have to face the things that made up Bob Allen, made me, behave the way that I did back, whether it be bad, good, whatever. I have to own up to it and clean out and look at the things that frighten me, look at the secrets that I was holding on to. And, I'm a big, firm believer in the 12 steps. I really am. And that going through that whole process and cleaning house, so to speak, then I could get some good messages in there. Then I could learn how to communicate. Then feelings were something not to run from, but to investigate, right? To be with, to be comfortable with, or be uncomfortable with, but then identify what that's all about. And I'm a big believer in, I got to clean up what I have because I can transmit something that I don't have, right? Or, does that make sense? I need to be whole. Not perfect. And that's not at all what I'm trying to say, but I need to at least be investigating in myself, looking at myself, uncovering the things that are blocking me and then discarding the ones that aren't good. And you know what I mean? And then being able to come into a situation, having an open and honest dialogue with her, right? This is how I'm feeling. This is what's going on. Or what do you think about that? Does that make sense?
Yes. All the self-reflection that is required to have clarity so that you can communicate.
Yeah.
And really the self-care. We're both pretty heavy into the self-care practices. It's like second nature now, but I definitely have like a morning routine of I struggle with meditation, but I really want to be good at that. But it's a gratitude practice for sure, and setting an intention for the day, stuff like that. We do exercise in the morning, and he always talks about like when he's stretching and stuff, he's praying to God, which kind of reminds me to do that too in my own way. But really, just like having a good self-care practice.
Self-care, absolutely.
And it's actually sort of selfish not to do that. I think about as an athlete, like I grew up playing soccer, and I can remember being a guy who hid my injuries from my coaches and my parents and my team because I wanted to play. And I would go out and I wouldn't be as effective, or I would let my team down, or I would get burned on certain things. And so I can actually remember psychologically thinking, no, this is the right thing to do. But the right thing to have done was to sit out, rehab my ankle, get ready, strengthen up, be ready for that. So to be a good teammate, like this idea of self-care, I'm actually having a little bit of a mind-blowing era in my life where actually self-care, to not do self-care is actually selfish.
Exactly, because I'm two very different people. Me with self-care and me without self-care. They're two very different people. And you're right. It is selfish not to do the self-care because if I don't do it, then he's the one that suffers.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you agree. He suffers.
I suffer the most.
That's crazy. Well, so what do you have planned? What are you going to do? Like when I guess as your kids move on and move out, like do you have actual dreams and goals that you're ready to pursue, or is that TBD?
I have many ideas.
Yeah, I know she does, 100%.
I have all kinds of shenanigans planned, so I just got to get him to come along for the ride. I'm
pretty easygoing that way too, to be honest. It's like, okay, let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah.
We've only been in this state for like 6 years, and we haven't really explored that much. So
I'd like to get out and see.
He was talking about that was actually his idea that he'd like to get out more and explore. There's like hot springs and canyons and rivers.
It's beautiful.
Will you go to Japan?
I would love to go to Japan one day. Probably not this trip, but that's definitely on a bucket list. We just did we went to Italy, Rome, Paris. That was amazing.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's pricey. So
yeah,
that's a long flight too. Listen, we also like The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So adventures
creatures
are
of comfort.
Yeah, adventures are terribly uncomfortable things, as they would say.
Yeah. The reason I ask is my kid, by the time this episode comes out, she'll already be there, but she leaves for Japan next week. She'll be there for 12 weeks. And
wow.
We're actually going to go visit her for like about 14 days.
Awesome.
I guess that's 2 weeks. And so now I'm sort of obsessed. Whenever I hear the word, I'm like, oh, what do you do? What are you going to go? What are you going to see? How's that going to work? So
will she be in Tokyo?
She's going to be in Tokyo studying Japanese. Yeah, so she'll be there.
Where?
Learning the Japanese language and culture. So she just graduated from high school, and last year, and we enrolled her in a gap year program. So she did in the fall. She did 12 weeks in 9 cities on 3 continents. So she did 6 weeks in Europe, 3 weeks in Australia, and 3 weeks in Thailand.
That's awesome.
Wow,
and
that's amazing.
Saw the whole world. And then she's here now, and then she goes to Japan. She'll be there for 12 full weeks. As part of this gap year program, staying in like a little hostel. She'll have her own apartment. She'll have to do her own laundry. So, I'm hoping to instill in her self-care as a way to like make sure that you set yourself up for success. And, she'll have a lot of freedom, and so I'm hoping that she'll, I don't know, I don't want to say quite take after me, but because I never, you might resonate this, I never learned one thing before I was ready to learn it. I never
absolutely.
So here I am going, don't drink too much, and I know you're legal age, and you got to be careful and make sure you get your budget and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, I guess I just have to let her figure it out, because that's the deal. But
well, they'll be there at the same time. We should exchange information.
We'll hook them up. Yeah, we'll hook them up, and I will. I'd love that. If people are interested in learning more about Arlina and Bob and what's going on, how should they find you, or what is the best way to be in touch with your story?
I actually have a website, soberlifeschool.com, and that is sort of like the hub where people can get access. I do have a sobriety podcast, and I wrote a book, The 12-Step Guide for Skeptics, and
that's cool.
So that's all available there. And I do support people who are either thinking about quitting drinking, or now that they've gotten sober, it's sort of like, now what? There's a lot of that.
Yeah,
so,
right on.
A lot of self-discovery after people get sober.
And the website is?
soberlifeschool.com.
Right on. Okay, we'll make sure to put that in the show notes. And then Bob, if people want to stalk you or figure out how to get some advice,
good luck.
Yeah.
He's not on social media.
I am not. I'm not. And it's a choice I made. Like I'm not into any of that. I'll support her. She's amazing, by the way. I hear her. I'm like, wow. You're pretty.
I'm pretty good at this.
That's a smart lady over there. I should learn from her. Yeah. Well, I am grateful that you chose to come on Marriage Therapy Radio. I'm delighted to hear your story. I think it's a crack up is the wrong word, but I think it's very cool that you're invested in this saga. I think we need to get caught up in big, expansive stories, because it's so easy to get sort of overwhelmed by the moment and forget that this thing is 8 seasons at least. There's a lot of story here, and I'm not talking strictly about Game of Thrones. So I love that example that you're setting by just getting caught up and checking it out. So thanks again for joining me. And if you want to learn more about Arlina, go to Sober Life School, and I look forward to being in friends.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Bob and Arlina Allen for coming on Marriage Therapy Radio. Thanks to Arlina for having me on the One Day at a Time Recovery Podcast. You can check that out on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. I was episode 415. Again, this was episode 420. So insert your marijuana joke here. And for now, I will remind you to please follow Marriage Therapy Radio on Instagram. To support the podcast on Patreon, you can do that by going to marriagetherapyradio.com and clicking on the Patreon page. We also have there a link to OMG Yes, which is this platform around sexual education for women and the men who love those women. So I would encourage you to go and check that out if you haven't done that already. And as always, I'm grateful if you'd leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. This helps us to continue to grow this podcast ahead of my book, which is going to come out in almost exactly a year from now. It's a long time, and who knows where we'll be as a planet and as a culture and as people who are interested in relational ideas. But I'm proud of the book. I'm looking forward to having you read it. But for now, I will thank you for the time and attention that you put into making your relationship better today than it was yesterday.